Hi everyone. You know the whole internet is about data. If you have the data, then you have the power. Data can bring light to your darkness. But there is a catch. You will have to know how to analyze your data. To analyze your data, you need trusted tool. Here comes your superhero. Pivot table is an awesome tool to calculate, summarize, and analyze data. It shows comparisons, patterns, and trends in your data. For an example, you want to know about your respected customer S Garments. What is the sales amount of S Garments in 2019? How S Garments sales developed over the time? How was S Garments sales this year compared to last year? So, how to create a pivot table in Excel? Always organize your data in columns with headers. Select the cells from where you want to create a pivot table. Select Insert, then click Pivot Table. This will create a pivot table based on an existing table or range. Choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed. Select New Worksheet to place the pivot table in a new worksheet. If you already have a ready worksheet, you can also use existing worksheet. But I always recommend creating a table first. Then start building your pivot table. It will help you if you continue to add new data to your worksheet. You will have to just refresh the worksheet. Information will be updated. Now you need to build pivot table. How to build your pivot table? To add a field to your pivot, select the field name checkbox in the pivot table's fields list. Fields list is in the top right corner of Excel ribbon. If you click field list, pivot table field span disappears. You can see light gray selection color is gone. Again, if you click pivot table fields list, appear at the right side. And light gray selection color of field list comes back. Non-numeric fields are added to rows. And numeric fields are added to values by default. If you want to move a field from one area to another, just drag the field to the area you want. And do not panic if you cannot see your pivot table fields. It is probably because you clicked outside of your pivot table. Just click again to your pivot table. Your field list will appear again. If you add new data to your pivot table data source, then that pivot table needs to be refreshed. Otherwise, pivot table data update. So, how to refresh pivot tables? To refresh, just right-click anywhere in the pivot table range. Then select Refresh. If you have more than one pivot table, first select any cell in any pivot table. Then on the ribbon, click Pivot Table Analyze. Then select the arrow under the Refresh button and click Refresh All. But you still need to work with pivot table values. So how to work with pivot table values? Your pivot table fields that are placed in the values will be displayed as a sum by default. If it senses your data as text, Excel will display it as a count. Therefore, it is very important to make sure you do not mix data types. You can change the default calculation by clicking on the arrow to the right of the field name. Then select the value field setting option. You can change the calculation method in the summarize values by section. If you change the calculation method, like you can change sum of net value to count of net value, Excel will automatically change it in the pivot table. You can also change the custom name. You can change count of net value to anything you want. If you want, you can also display values as a percentage. Just click the tab beside Summarize Values by, then click the down arrow. From here, just select % of grand total. You can also change it another way. Just right click on pivot table, then show values as, and then click % of grand total. Always give your data a visual look. Drag SO date to rows area, place it under years, add LC type to filters section. Drag net value again to the values section. Now select the data and click conditional formatting. Then select data bars. Check this out. Now it looks nice. Go to design on the ribbon, click grand totals, then click off for rows and columns. It removes your grand totals. If you want grand total again, just click on for rows and columns. Click subtotals, then select do not show subtotals. Subtotals also disappeared. Again, if you click subtotal and select show all subtotals at top of the group, subtotals appears again. If you select show all subtotals at bottom of the group, subtotal shows at the bottom of your data. Your data is now in compact form. Click report layout. From here you can change this. If you click show in outline form, another column appears for months. Again, if you select show in tabular form, blank cells disappears. If you select repeat all item labels, all the labels repeat in the label cell. But it looks better in tabular form. So select do not repeat item labels. Click blank rows. Here, if you select insert blank line after each item, it creates an entire row. And if you select remove blank line after each item, it removes blank rows. You can try Filtable. It gives more control. So how to filter a pivot table? Back to pivot table analyze. You can filter your data by LC type. If you select at site, it shows at site orders. If you select deferred, you can see deferred orders. Only two options to filter. You can create separate sheets for data. click Options, then click Show Report Filter Pages. You can see two different pages for LC types. Drag the SO date out of the rows area and drag sum of net values 2 from values area. Also remove LC type from filters and drag name to filters. In the filters, if you change name to S. Garments, you can see S. Garments Limited purchased $13,68,803.75 from you in 2019. You can also see this year purchased $1,96,598.60. So sales have decreased, and which is not the good news. Now drag the quarters from rows area to columns area. You can see compared to 2019, sales decreased because you have the whole year left. But noticeable thing is your first quarterly sales decreased compared to last year also. So you should take special care of S. Garments Limited. This will take huge time if you do this with Excel functions. So pivot table can easily give your data insights. You can also use slicer and timeline to filter pivot table data. Select a cell in the pivot table, then click Pivot Table Analyze. Click Slicer. You can see slicer options. Slicer allows you to filter data. You didn't drag those data to your pivot table, but with Slicer you can still filter those data with clicks. Timeline also same. You can filter yearly, quarterly, monthly, or according to days. Just click time range. Your pivot table data shows you filtered information. If you want to clear filter, just click the icon right of the slicer or timeline header. Keyboard shortcut is Alt+C. You can create pivot table from different sources. So how to create pivot table from other sources? Excel also allows you to create pivot table from other sources. Click Insert, then click the arrow under Pivot Table button. You can see available options for other sources. You can select from other sources. There are 3 other options you can use for pivot table. So this is it for today. I hope this was helpful.